Hi, friend. So, we have had some questions in our Facebook community about digital clutter. And when we think of digital clutter, I don't know about you, but one of the first things that pop to mind is email. Email can be atrocious. It can be so stressful. And I know people that spend like literally hours just in their email, sorting through things, reading through things, trying to get rid of things. But there are so many of us that have thousands of emails just sitting in our inbox. And whether or not you feel like you need to go through and read all of them, it feels overwhelming. And a lot of times we just go in and we're searching for things and then we just get out because we don't even want to deal with it. But in the back of your mind, you kind of want just a clean inbox. Doesn't that sound nice? I will admit, I have several different email accounts, whether they are work or personal or business. And and then over the years, like I had one when I was like a teenager that I still have, and I basically use it for junk. But I have some that like that one that I had as a teenager and is full of junk. Like that one, I'm just letting go. Like there is no hope with that email inbox. But my other ones, I have completely sorted out and I maintain those really well. And that is what I want to share with you because if you are struggling with digital clutter with your email, I might have some tips that would help you organize it and have a really good system to continue moving through and keeping things sorted where you can still easily access them, but it always brings you back down to an inbox zero, which is super helpful and makes you feel very organized and stress-free, and email does not have to be so overwhelming. Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renae Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast. Now, I'm hoping to get through these tips pretty quickly for you, but I have a feeling that because there are so many steps and details, if you want to listen to it now, I mean, you certainly can if you don't have a chance to take notes, but if you actually want to go through these steps, it might be really useful to make sure that you listen at a time where you can take notes and write all the steps down, or that you can be actually on your computer walking through some of these things and just pausing as you need to and then moving through. And so it will be different depending on what you're looking for, or if you're just, listening to pick up a few tips, I guess. Maybe you don't follow it exactly, but hopefully you'll find some things that are helpful. Now, I have, like I said, business and personal emails that I manage, and also with my corporate job, I also have email there, and I deal with a ton of different things. So I do have some different tips to keep everything sorted, because I am somebody that needs to keep a lot of emails because I need to go back for references and reference different conversations, different things for audits, all sorts of stuff that I'm looking for. So I need to keep a lot of this email, unfortunately. But I also like ending my day with no emails in my inbox. And even as I'm working throughout the day, like, I don't want to constantly be checking my email every time it dings and a new email comes in. I want to be able to go in when it's time to check email, get through my inbox, and get out of my email, and then I can go back and repeat that later. So that is my process. But with personal, I also use a different type of email platform. So we're actually going to go over 2 different platforms today. I'm going to kind of give you some tips with Outlook and then also with Gmail. and they are similar concepts, but there are some different variances. Variances, I think that's the word I'm looking for, depending on what you're doing. So they all boil down to three main steps. So when you think about getting your email kind of decluttered and organized, you're going to think of three steps, which are purge, sort, maintain. Those are the three things that you kind of always cycle through. So the first one is purge, and that means you're deleting everything you possibly can. You're getting it out of your inbox and getting it just removed so you don't have to deal with it. That is the step one. And then step two is to sort. This is where you are filing things in folders, or you're labeling them if you need to. You are making sure that you schedule follow-up or get it on your task list. Whatever you're doing with it, you are sorting through it and taking the action that you need to take on it, and then getting it filed so that you can get your inbox down to 0 at the end of your email session. And then 3 is to maintain. And this means that you aren't checking email constantly throughout the day and then reading something, and if it's marked as read, it kind of drops down into the priority, and then you're looking at the new stuff later, and then all of a sudden you realize you forgot about the old one and you need to follow back up on it. It just gets really messy. So it's a lot easier when you stop checking it throughout the day and you just schedule time, whether it's one time a day, one time every couple days, or maybe it's multiple times a day, but you have a dedicated time slot to check your email, get through it, repeat that, step 1 and step 2 of purging and sorting, getting it back down to a 0 inbox, and then moving forward. And that will help you maintain this process no matter what email platform you use. Now, if you are organizing an email inbox that is already pretty overwhelming, you have two options. You can either start from scratch, or you can invest some time to get yourself organized. And it is going to take time because it's a lot of steps. But if you get through them consistently, it does get faster and faster as you go because you get this organization down. And when you have the framework built, you don't have to think so hard about it, and you don't have to think about, well, is this actually going to work? Am I going to maintain this? How is this going to work for me? I have tried it a lot of different ways, and what I'm going to share with you today has been the best way for me to keep it actually organized and not take unnecessary steps that I don't have time for. So the first one we're going to look at is Outlook, because I think it's a little bit easier to maintain an Outlook inbox. Now, Outlook has folders, and you can create subfolders and all sorts of stuff. Now, before we go into that, I think it's really important to say folders are amazing. I absolutely love folders. However, we do have to be very careful on not creating too many folders. Our biggest thing, whether you're doing any type of platform, is to really think through what you need to keep, and if you need to go back and look for it, what folder would you be most likely to look for it? So think of generalized categories. Like I said, you can do subcategories, but I don't recommend a ton of subcategories. I will say there is one, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but the biggest thing is to kind of think of generalized topics and then put things into those folders, because you can always go and search all mail. If you're really looking for something specific, you can just use the search bar, type in the sender or the topic or some keywords, and you can either search by folder, or you can search by sender, or just search all mail, and it will pull up all the email that has it from that sender or that topic or keyword or whatever it is. So you don't have to get so granular on the folders that you're putting everything in. You're basically just getting it organized so you know where it needs to go. And the less folders we have, the less you have to think about when it comes time to actually sorting them out. If you have, 30 different folders, it's going to take more time to sort everything, because then you're going to think about, okay, well, which one should this go in? Where if you only have, 5 to 8 different general folders, then it's going to be a lot easier to decide where that email needs to get filed if you can't delete it. So hopefully that will help you as you're thinking about what types of folders to create. So when we go into Outlook, the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to purge, and you're going to sort it by sender, because that is the easiest way. Rather than just going email by email, you sort by sender, and then you select everything by that sender. And you're going to and just check them all, and you can just hit select all. And then all you're going to do is you're going to do a really quick scan and uncheck anything that you need to keep. Once you do that, hit delete and just get rid of it. Because then you will only have the emails remaining that you actually need. And you just keep repeating this all the way through from A to Z. And then at that point, you will only be left with the emails that you need to keep. So at this point, you're going to move into sort. And for the ones you have chosen to keep, you're going to think of those categories. You're going to have the big categories. And like I said, you don't really want a ton of subcategories, but there are instances where subcategories can be super helpful. So let's say your big categories are taxes, general correspondence that you don't want to lose, and events. Let's say those are the big categories. Now, if you wanted subcategories, instead of just pulling everything into taxes, you could have subcategories as 2023 taxes, 2024 taxes, and sort it by year. For general correspondence, if you didn't want everything into one folder, you could have your subcategories as the name of the person you often talk to if you need to go back to those conversations and reference those often. Maybe it is a business that you do a lot of work with and you want all of their emails filed in a folder. Those would be instances where you could utilize the subcategories without it getting overwhelming. Another way is for events. If you don't want everything into one event, I will have subcategories for each particular event. This can hold, communications, registrations, any details about the event, hotel stays, all those types of things. And I do like to have the same naming convention, which means it's in the same order, or you name it the same way so it all looks very cohesive. And if I'm doing an event, I always like the year first, because then it will reorder it chronologically. So if I have any subcategories under events, I'm going to name it with the 4-digit year, and then a dash, and then the 2-digit month, and a dash, and then the 2-digit date. And then I put a space, and then I put the name of the event. And this orders it so that all of my events in the subcategories are in chronological order, all the way through the year. And this is super, super helpful. And then if it starts getting to look a little bit messy for you, you can always, at the end of the year, you could always create a folder under events that just say, 2023 past events, and then just highlight all of those subfolders from 2023 events and drag them into that 2023 past events folder, and everything gets dropped into there, and then it keeps it nice and clean and organized. So those are reasons that I do enjoy using subcategories, but be really careful about getting them too chaotic and crazy, because then it can get super overwhelming. So you want to try and keep it as basic as you can. Once we get through and we are sorting everything into the folders, if you come across something that needs follow-up, you can put it on your task list or schedule it on your calendar of when you're going to follow up with that person. Or you can put a little folder that says follow-up or whatever you want to name it, and then pull it over there. The key is always remembering to check that folder if it needs follow-up, but you can do, different folders like awaiting response, action needed, to review if it's not critical or like timing wise. You can do all different things like that, but your biggest thing is to just make sure that wherever you do them, you have a system to follow up with that thing. For myself, I have a task management system that if I need to follow up on an email or an event or something we're talking about, then I will put that on my task list so that I don't lose sight of it. And then I file the email away because I can always go back and reference it when that comes up on my task list on when I need to take care of it. And I know exactly where it is because I know which folder I put it in. So, or if I couldn't remember, then you can utilize that search bar. So that makes it super easy, and you can keep an organized inbox really well. And it's very simple here. And if you find that you use specific folders often, you can always move those folders and add them to your favorites, and then it brings them to the top of your inbox categories. And then you have really quick access to specific folders like those, follow up or action needed on those folders. Okay, that's a lot. Next, let me take a drink here quick. My mouth is getting dry. Okay, so we're going to go into Gmail. Now, this is going to sound a little bit daunting. Gmail is a little bit weird. I love like Google Drive and Google products. However, Gmail takes some getting used to. And I did not take the time to get used to it when I set up my first Gmail account. So that is one that is completely overrun. And maybe I will go back and take a look at it and see if I can get it organized. But there's a part of me that's just like, it's not worth it. I feel like just deleting everything in that account and starting over. But we'll see. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do in Gmail is to set up your labels. And you can think of labels similar to folders. However, Gmail does not have folders, at least at the time of this recording. So they have labels, which work very similar to folders. They do have it where you can nest labels, and it kind of works like a subcategory, but it gets a little bit wonky, and I would not suggest doing that. So what I would say with your labels is when you go in to sort your Gmail, before you do anything else, go to your labels and set up your labels. Now, this, I think it is super important to do an action needed, awaiting response, and to review. And you can have these boxes. This is going to help you sort through things. And if you want, you can even put those three in brackets or with a little asterisk on either side, and that will help keep it at the top of your labels list so they always kind of stay front and center. And then from after those three, you could do additional ones that you think are important, like maybe it's general communication, invoices and receipts, tax information. If you have a business, maybe it's, commission or income or affiliate income. Maybe it is customers and clients. Maybe it's order notifications, things like that. You want the actual folders or labels that you want them labeled, not the three initial buckets that I talked about. Those are more like organization buckets, not actual labels that you want to think about. They're all called labels, but I don't want you to get confused because we're going to be talking about that a little bit later as well. So once you figure out what labels you want, like I said, don't get crazy. Try and keep it as simple as possible. You can also color code them. And I think color coding them is super duper helpful. And as you go through this process, you will see why as you start working your way through it. Oh, and another note, I'm kind of getting all over the place. I'm sorry. You're probably going to want to do this on a computer if you can. It's a lot easier on a computer, and I have noticed that one of the settings that I'm going to talk about is actually, I could only find it on the computer. I couldn't find it on my app. So in order to get it set up this way, I think it has to be on a computer. So you're going to go on your computer and you're going to go to your settings, and then you're going to go to inbox type. And when you get down to the inbox type, you're going to select multiple inboxes and click customize. And then once you do that, you're going to scroll to the section where there are 2 columns, and it's called multiple inbox sections. And the first column is search query, and the second column is section name. Now in the first column, you are going to type label, colon, and then no space, and the exact name of your buckets, those 3 buckets that I talked about. So if you had it as, action needed in brackets, you're going to type label, colon, bracket, action needed, bracket. Does that make sense? And then in the second column, across from that, under section name, then you can just type with no brackets, whatever you want. You can just type in action needed. And you're going to repeat this with the action needed folder, your label, your awaiting response label, and your to review label. And that is what you want to create. And once you get all 3 of those buckets added in there, then right underneath, it's also going to ask you your multiple inbox position. And I like the one that's called right of the inbox. So then you select that. And then make sure you scroll down and click the button to save the changes. Now, when you do this, you'll go back to your inbox and you will notice that to the right of the inbox, because that's where you selected the position, to the right of the inbox, you will now have a sorted version of action needed. Well, I totally just blanked. Action needed, awaiting response, and to review. So now you are at the point where you can start sorting your inbox. And like I said, Gmail is a little bit weird. So what you want to do is, you can't search by sender alphabetically in Gmail. You have to actually search the name. So you're going to want to go through to your search bar, and you're going to want to just start with something that's in your inbox. So you could make it easy and start with something is just a little bit, or you could, if you get an email from the same sender all the time, you could start with them because it's a lot. It's however you want to do it. But you're going to start the process of the purging and the sorting. So go to your inbox. You can do your primary, your promotional, you can view all of them, whatever you want to do. You're going to search the keyword or the sender or something, and then you're going to select all of them from that sender or those types of emails. And then do the same thing. You're going to do a quick scan, and you're going to delete everything you can and just uncheck what you want to keep. Then you're going to select the emails that are remaining that are going to be labeled the same. So say you selected all of these different invoices and you want to label them as invoices in the label invoices. So you're going to select all of these. You are going to go up to the little labels icon and then make sure everything is unchecked except invoices. So if you have a label called invoices, you're going to click that. If you forgot a label that you really want, you can create one there, but you just check that box. And then before you finish here, you're going to decide if they need follow-up. Now, if they need follow-up, you need to also check the box that is action needed, awaiting response, or to review. If they don't need follow-up, you just need to make sure they're labeled as invoices and then hit apply. What this is going to do is it's going to add that label to the email. You will see it, especially if you color-coded them. It's going to pop up nice and bright. And then before you uncheck them, you're going to go to the little file box that has a down arrow on it. And if you just hover your mouse over it, you're going to see that it's called the archive. And all you're going to do is you're going to click archive. And this is Gmail's way of basically taking them out of the inbox, but you don't lose them. So you will still find them under your label. So if you go to the label on the left-hand side, all your labels, you can click on invoices, and all of those invoices will be there because they have that label on them. And that's the way you can get them out of your inbox, but still have access to them. And you're just going to keep repeating this process until you get all the way through. Now, as you do this, until you get used to doing it, it might feel a little bit confusing on which ones are still in your inbox and which ones aren't. Because if you search by all mailboxes, it's going to pull everything together. It's going to pull your archived messages. You're going to pull all of your different inboxes all together. So it's going to look a little bit messy. So you're going to always want to go back to your primary inbox and sort and filter from there, because that is going to help let you know if you've removed it from your inbox. If it's still in your primary inbox, then you know you haven't archived it. But if you're going to archive it and you want it to be saved in any of those folders, then you need to label it and then archive it. Now, if you don't need access to it in the label, but you don't necessarily want to delete it, you could just archive it. You can always search all mailboxes or your search bar and it'll pop back up again. But you don't have to. But if you want it in one of the labeled folders where you can easily access it later, then you're going to want to go through this process. It will also tell you as you're going through, if you're searching in all mailboxes, it might have a little gray box that says inbox, and that's another good indicator that it is still in your primary inbox and not somewhere else. So you're going to take the time to get through all of this and do this process. And when you're done, you will have an empty inbox because everything is archived and labeled. And on the right, you will still see that you have those three main inbox buckets that we had created for action needed. So everything that you marked that you need to take action on, all of those emails are going to be in that inbox. The awaiting response, when you click on that one, everything that's awaiting a response is going to be in that email. Everything in the to review is going to be in that section. And like I said, this is going to take time to get it set up. But once you have the process set up, it is so streamlined, because now when you sit down to do your email at the time that you want to do it, you can go through the purge and sort option, get everything organized, and then you can go straight to your bucket labels. So everything under action needed, you can go and you can review everything. When you finish the action and you no longer need it to be in that bucket, all you have to do is go to the labels and uncheck action needed, because it will still have the label. So say it was the invoice or a client one, it'll still have that label because you already labeled it. It's just going to remove the action needed label. And when that happens, it's going to pull it from the action needed bucket, but it will still be available in the customer bucket or the invoice bucket or wherever you had it listed or labeled to. And you just move through these folders every time you check your email. So as you go through the awaiting response, when you get a response, all you have to do is you have to go and just remove the label, and it will keep it in the bucket, but it'll remove it from your action buckets. And you just keep working through your action buckets, and that's how you're going to keep everything organized, but still accessible and easy to view, and you're not going to lose track of those items. So hopefully with the Outlook option and the Gmail option, hopefully any platform you use, if you don't use one of those, you can still utilize this information and set up your own system with your email platform. But I strongly encourage you to have a good system set up, whether it's the exact same way I do it or it's a different way, but have a system set up to help ease the stress of email. I do have a couple more tips though to help you as you're going through this. Now, the first one is to turn off notifications because if you get notifications and you get pinged every time you get an email, whether it's on your computer or your phone, it gets really distracting, and you could be working on a project or really in the zone doing something, and you hear that sound and it just pulls your attention. And that was happening to me a ton, and I couldn't do it anymore. So I turned off all my notifications. So if it takes me a while to get back to a text or an email or something, that's why, because I'm not checking those until it's time for me to sit down and check and get through those things. And it also helps me to be more intentional about what I'm actually saying in my responses. So it's not going to be just some quick of trying to respond really quickly without taking the time because I'm in a rush. I'm actually responding when I can sit down and give it some thought and respond intentionally. This is also like, as you're going through this process, make sure you're scheduling what time you want to actually check your email. I know there are situations where you need to be constantly checking it because you're expecting something specific and you need to take action on it right away. But most times that's not the case. So you could easily schedule time to check your email in the morning and just do it every morning. Or maybe it's, at morning and before you close out for the day. Maybe it is multiple times a day. Maybe it's, right away in the morning and then a half hour before lunch. And then maybe when you get back from lunch and right before you check out for the day. Like, you have to decide what works best for you, but I do strongly encourage you, if you're somebody that is constantly checking their email throughout the day, schedule yourself some times so that you feel comfortable to get through it, and it will take the ease and the stress off, and just you'll have so much more peace throughout the day because you're not constantly getting your attention pulled to your email. The other tip that I have for you is, as new emails come in, like you get through this process, you get a clear inbox, you might find that you're still getting a lot of junk emails or emails you don't necessarily need anymore, things that you have subscribed to or you've signed up for freebies and you just don't need those emails anymore. Go to the bottom of the email and unsubscribe. People are sending out emails left and right. You probably get inundated with emails. If you need some extra peace, just go in, take 30 seconds and unsubscribe as those emails come in, and you will see the amount of emails that you get dramatically reduce. So don't feel bad. You can always resubscribe later if you need to or if you miss it. But if you're just getting overwhelmed with email all the time, take some time and go through and unsubscribe. The last tip that I have for you is to take some time to review your settings. When you go into your email settings, there are so many different options that you can have that are really helpful. Now, if you have a business, you could go in and turn on your vacation mode and just have it as an auto response to just say, hey, you could have it where you're checking email once a day, but you don't want people to feel like you're not checking email. You can say, hey, we got your email. We'll respond as soon as we can, and just keep it very simple where they feel like they got a response, but you don't feel like you have to respond immediately. The other thing is, if you're going on vacation, to actually take the time to utilize it as a vacation autoresponder. Or if you are on your app, like, you can do swipe options. I absolutely love the swipe setting on my mobile app for Gmail. If I get an email and I'm going through my emails on my phone, all I have to do is swipe left and it deletes it. And every once in a while, I'll do it on accident, or I swipe before I fully read it. And then I'm like, oh, wait, maybe I did need that. They pop up a little bar that says undo. I mean, you can click it and it's fine and it restores it. But when I'm going through all those junk emails that I know I don't need, all I have to do is just start swiping left and it just deletes them all super, super quick. So go into your settings and see what your swipes do. So some of them will archive, some of them mark them as read or mark them as unread. It just depends on what the default settings are. So if you find that yours could be more useful, go and tweak that and see if you can change the settings to make it more helpful for what you need with your email settings. Like, it's all there to help you and to streamline things. So we might as well take advantage of it. So I hope that was really helpful for you to go through the details of how I use Outlook and Gmail. But really, no matter what email platform you use, if you are trying to get rid of the digital clutter and you don't want to just start from scratch, always think about the 3 steps that I talked about in the beginning. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to purge. You're going to delete everything you can, sort it by sender or search by sender, search by keywords, whatever you need to do, and just bulk delete as much as you possibly can to reduce your load. Second is to sort. You're going to file everything in folders or label it as needed, depending on what you're doing. If it needs follow-up, make sure you put it in that bucket. If it needs to be scheduled on your calendar to follow up with it, make sure you do that or get it on your task list of when you're going to take care of that email. If you need to break down the labels and actually put it into those buckets, do that if you need to. But really, you're going to make sure that you are sorting everything out and getting it filed so that it gets your inbox down to 0, but you still don't lose track of the things that need action. And then the third thing is to maintain or manage your inbox moving forward. This is where you are going to stop checking your email constantly or getting those pings, turn off your notifications, and schedule yourself time to sit down and check your email and then go through and repeat steps 1 and 2. Every time you sit down to email, you're going to purge and delete, and you're going to sort and file, and then work through your follow-ups and get yourself down to a 0 inbox. And so then you can just continue this process moving forward. So you always have an organized inbox. Everything is where you need it. And if you ever need to go back and reference something, you have those emails already organized and filed so that you don't have to worry about it. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have questions of your own, then please come and tell me. You can join us in the Facebook community at facebook.com/groups/theroutineadvantagecommunity. And we do have something really cool being announced there tomorrow for a new giveaway. I will talk about it on the next episode as well, but if you want a little sneak peek before the next episode airs on Thursday, then you might as well come and join us in that group. So I hope to see you in there, and I will see you on the next episode. Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.